Meiko Kawakami's Breasts and Eggs is probably one of the most important works out there about alienation. And it gets to it in such a fine, detailed, je ne sais quoi way where you're really going to get a lot if you look at this line by line and just like make a list of all of the alienating lines throughout the book and dwell in them. So this is the same territory as Silent Hill and David Lynch, where we have dialogue where there's a gap between the enunciator and the enunciated, what's said. So, it's not this like hokey artsy, like, oh, we're messing with things, now it's artistic. It's not nonsense. It's a way of getting at our inner structure and the ways in which we're alienated structurally and also between each other, primarily through voice, but also through, neighbor figures and the gaze and, what the mask is, etc. Though this is less interpersonal and more internal. The weirdness comes from how the character is connecting with the world around her. So it's connecting with other people, it's connecting with the cosmos and existence itself. And there are so many wonderful but profoundly, I don't know if I want to say neutral, but profoundly elemental ways of engaging our connection between ourselves psychically and the world around us. So it does so without artistry. Usually you have to do this either through some sort of aesthetic twist or through the neutrality of a storyteller position where you've got a remove between you and the character, like a Mother Goose, like I'm telling you a story. That's primarily how this stuff is accessed. And here we're getting it subjectively through a direct connection between us as character and the world. So, and without much violence or even, it's the weirdness in utter neutrality itself. Maybe that's another great way to put it. Because there are moments in the book that get to proper, like, weird girl, surreal, dreamlike qualities, and they interrupt. They're great. I want more of them. Because you get it maybe like a handful of times. And I won't go into the hard details, but it gets weird. That's all you really need to know. That weirdness is wonderful. It's getting us, it's transporting us, but it's not getting us to an extreme state. It's just kind of carrying us forward. Very basically, the protagonist is an aspiring author living a very simple life. Her older sister and niece visit. Her older sister is obsessed with wanting to get breast implants, and her niece, who's about to, high school age, is struggling with existence itself and coming of age and not knowing how to exist. So disavowing life itself, basically. And so you get these, you get the askewness of the older sister wanting breast implants. So it gets into like the substance, like body weirdness territory in a nice way. And you get this hysterical why out of the daughter. Why do all this to yourself? And what that leads to, so that's part one. Part two leads to the protagonist becoming successful with her writing, and from that wanting to have a child. She cannot have sex physically, and she wants to be a parent anyway, and so she looks into surrogacy. And the latter half, the 2/3 of the book, is about that longing and the struggle of it and what she does with it. The book does, in my mind, unfortunately, stay in the territory of discussions that are slice of life and steps back from weirdness. So not alienating conversations, but pretty neutral, normal ones. And we're going from conversation to conversation to conversation. I love conversation. My book is full of conversation that takes us somewhere. And it's not quite in the mode of modernism. The modernist move with boring conversations or overly long ones is Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, where you get like a 10 or so page sermon from a priest that you sit through, and you get this like existential boredom out of it, and you're wrestling with it. I dabble a touch with that in Where We've Made It Dark, where we're sitting with, Imogen is sitting with conversations with her father, and her father's talking a lot to her, but we're getting to that struggle on Imogen's side too, and I'm also not trying to be boring out of what the father's saying, but here we get a lot of neutrality and just normal everyday conversations that I think the reader is asked to either overly appreciate, like basically fetishize, or you're skimming past them. So, the writing quality is worth dealing with that, I think. Now, I do have to say generally what the book drives to. You're dealing with this will she, won't she question, and it's important to answer that question. So, leave if you don't want to know. So what this drives to is the pain inherent to existence itself. And how can you bring someone into the world knowing that pain is inherent to life itself? To exist in the world is through pain. Even if you're living a good life, there's pain involved in that, although that's not the point of the book. It's a bit more in the hyperextension of people suffering imaginably. But, being a parent is facing that possibility and embracing it. It's not a psychic disavowal of, well, I'm going to be lucky and I'm just going to do my best and hope for the best, etc. It is a Nietzschean, infinite circle, willing something bad to happen if that's the case too, in a way. The possibility, not the actuality. That's an inherent part to being a parent. And she basically does take the leap and gives birth at the end of the book, and all because she has this deep longing to just see who this person is. She needs to see who her child is, without family or family structure, just her and this potential child. And she undergoes the pain of that and gives birth and gets to see who this child is, and the end. That is a profoundly neutral stance that I think we're getting into, which can be read radically or conservatively, but the neutrality is the real thing here. This is similar to I Who've Never Known Men, which I think also drives into a profoundly neutral point. I don't think it's right to just give it the benefit of the doubt of reading it radically as this overcoming, when you can read it conservatively as this, we faced this problem, we've opened ourselves to it, but we step back from it, and this is all we can get at the end of the day. We just make the leap, have our child, the end. It is a bit tricky to fully unpack, and I'm not trying to do every little thing here, but I do want to gesture that I think things could go further. But again, what I love about this writing is how intensely alienated it is, and how it is struggling to connect with reality at every point, how it's sort of a microscopic zeroing in on details without getting over the top. Like, it still has an extreme simplicity as well. And it allows space for the weirdness inherent to the characters and their clinging, alienation of not just being feminine, but also being embodied. Alienation that is internal and not a problem of society being sexist. How this comes from ourselves. So this is a wonderful book. It's just a little too long with its conversations, and it gets us somewhere with the question of not simply reproduction, but parenthood. And it gets to that cut. I just think it's a riper territory than what's fully explored. Like, if you could get to that weirdness and push it further into parenthood, that's the territory where I think this book could really, really do something.